Now, what does God do? Well, God is then going to transform Jonah. He's going to transform the situation. And in fact, he's going to show us what Jesus is like. So let's carry on in the story. Enoch, are you reading the next bit for us? Is that okay? So we're going to read from verse 4 through to the end of the chapter. Enoch's going to come and read for us.
Then the Lord set a great wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. All the sailors were afraid, and each cried out to his own God, and they threw the cargo into the sea to lighten the ship. But Jonah had gone below the deck, where he lay down and fell into a deep sleep. The captain went to him and said, "How can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe he will take notice of us, so that we will not perish." Then the sailors said to each other, "Come, let us cast lots to find out who is responsible for this calamity." They cast the lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. So they asked him, "Tell us, who is responsible for making all this trouble for us? What kind of work do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? From what people are you?" He answered, "I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." This terrified them, and they asked, "What have you done?" They knew he was running away from the Lord, because he had already told them so. The sea was getting rougher and rougher, so they asked him, "What should we do? What should we do to you to make the sea calm down for us?" "Pick me up and throw me into the sea," he replied, "and it will become cool. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you." Instead, the men did their best to row back to land, but they could not, for the sea grew even wilder than before. Then they cried out to the Lord, "Please, Lord, do not let us die for taking this man's life. Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man, for you, Lord, have done as you pleased." Then they took Jonah and threw him overboard, and the raging sea grew calm. At this, the men greatly feared the Lord, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows to him.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Enoch. So what we want to see is you've got Jonah. He's run away from the Lord, but God is going to transform it. So we're going to run through the story again. So listen up. What happens? So he's run away from God. He's in a boat. Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, such a violent storm that arose that the ship threatened to break up. So God is sending something. God is going, I am going to do some work here. I'm going to pursue you, Jonah. I'm going to keep going with you, Jonah. And the sailors, they see this wind and they are terrified. They're sailors. They know how to sail a boat. That's their job. And these waves are crashing over and crashing over. And what do? Who do they cry out to? Who do they cry out to? All sorts of different gods. They go, this God or this God or this God or this God, save me, save me, save me, save me. They're crying out to all their gods. Notice, these people, they are praying, but they don't know who to. But they are praying. They're praying. They go, is it this God? Is it this God? To all these other gods that aren't real. And then they go, but where's Jonah? So they're praying, where's Jonah? Now, kids, I want you to help me. As I go through this, is Jonah a good witness? Is Jonah a good witness? Okay, notice this. What's Jonah doing? Where's Jonah? He's asleep. And the captain goes down and he says, how can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Get up and call on your God. Maybe he will take notice and not perish. They're all praying to their gods who are not real. Jonah, what's he doing? He's asleep. Is Jonah a good witness? Is he a good witness? No, he's not even praying. In fact, it takes the captain who doesn't believe in God to go to Jonah and say, go and pray. He's not even praying. And then what's worse is they wake him up. They say, Jonah, there's a big storm. And Jonah doesn't say, oh, maybe that's because I've done something wrong. Notice, they then go upstairs again and they start casting lots. Now, that's a bit like you've put everyone's name on a bit of paper, and they pull it out, and whose name is it? Jonah. And God's saying this storm is because Jonah has done something. So these people, they say, well, they go to Jonah. It's Jonah. Jonah's done something. So they rush down to Jonah, and do you notice how many questions they ask him? There's loads of these questions. They say, tell us, whose fault is the storm? What work do you do? Where do you come from? What people are there? And I think the point is they're going question after question after question after question after question until Jonah has to go, well, I've got to tell them. I've got so many questions, I've got to tell them. Maybe if you're a Christian like me, sometimes you feel like that. Your friends are like, oh, tell me about your church, tell me about what you believe, and you go, oh, and you're like, eventually go, okay, I better tell them. Is Jonah a good witness? He's not, is he? He's not a good witness. He has to get forced into telling them. And eventually he says, I am a Hebrew. I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. He says, my God made the sea. Oh. Now that's important, right? He made the sea. And notice what he says. I worship the God who made the sea and the dry land. As we read that, what does that make us think? Do you? You're running away from God. You worship the God who made the land and the sea, do you? And anyway, what happens is he's a terrible witness, isn't he? He's a terrible witness. His life doesn't show he's a witness. And the sea starts getting rougher and rougher. And they ask Jonah, what should we do? How do we make this sea calm? You see these people who have all these other gods, they start going, we need to ask your God, Jonah. And Jonah says, pick me up, throw me into the sea, and it will become calm. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you. Now, I've thought about this a lot this week. What he's saying there, is that a good thing to say? Pick me up and throw me in the sea. Is it good? I mean, he knows it's his fault. I don't know. What I do know is, wouldn't it have been better for him to say, turn the boat around? Surely that's the right thing to say, shouldn't it? Turn the boat around. I need to go to Nineveh. God has told me to go to Nineveh. He doesn't say that. I think Jonah is saying, throw me overboard. I would rather die than go to Nineveh. I think he's saying, I would rather die than do what you say, God. Is Jonah a good witness? It's not, is he? But these men seem pretty good guys. They say, they try and row and row and row to try and make sure that they don't need to throw him overboard. And then they do this amazing thing. They cry out to God, the real God, the Lord, and they say, please, Lord, do not let us die for taking this man's life. Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man, for you, Lord, have done as you pleased. And then they take Jonah, throw him overboard, and straight away the sea is calm. And then check this out, this is amazing. At this, the men greatly feared, worshipped the Lord, and offered sacrifices to the Lord, and made vows to him. Isn't this the most amazing story? Jonah runs away from people who worship other gods because he doesn't want, I don't want to tell them. What does God do? He saves a bunch of people who worship other gods. Isn't that amazing? As Jonah is running in the opposite direction, God goes, I'm still going to save people. I'm still going to save them. You might run in the opposite direction, Jonah. I'm still going to save people. Doesn't it show the heart of our God? Our God goes, I will save people. I want to use you, but I will save people. And as we finish, I want to show 3 points. Number 1, God transforms even with terrible witnesses. Jonah is a terrible witness. He doesn't want people to be saved. His life doesn't show that he follows God. His words don't show that he follows God. And yet, God saves people. That is good news for us. Because I don't know about your heart, I don't know about your words, I don't know about your life, but it is not always good. And yet God still is gracious enough to save people in our mess. I really love you lot, you're great. And yet I know all of us fall short of God. All of us don't really want to reach out at times. All of us want to live for ourselves. And isn't God kind that in the mess of our church, he goes, but I am going to still save people here. How kind our God is. And that means as you go and reach out to people, you don't have to wait to be perfect. You go to God, say, God, forgive me. I've failed. I haven't said what I should. But please work through even me. Please work through even me. And a little side point, some of you might know this. Some of you might have come to know Jesus through people, and they shared Jesus with you, they read the Bible with you, and then later on they have done awful things, or they've fallen away from the Lord, or they've just... So sad. I think this story reminds us going, it's Jesus that saves, not that person. It's Jesus that saves. So trust in him. He won't ever let us down. So number one, God works transforming even with terrible witnesses like Jonah and like us. Number two is God transforms this terrible witness. Jonah ran in the opposite direction. He literally went in the opposite direction. I was thinking this week, why didn't God just say, I'll just pick another guy? Wouldn't it have been easy to do that? Jonah's gone over there. Well, I'll just choose, I don't know, maybe I'll send Heather instead. Like, why didn't God just do that? But God instead sent a storm, and he's going to send a fish to save Jonah from his mess, and he's going to transform him and send him the other way. You see, God can work through terrible witnesses, but even more, God wants to transform us into being better witnesses. Witnesses that do love the Lord, witnesses that do love people that are lost, witnesses that do live under Jesus, witnesses that do speak of Jesus. And God is transforming us through circumstances, through our heart, through us staying close to the vine. That we are all this little light that shows what Jesus is like in the way we live, the way we speak. And God is working to make us shine brighter, so Jesus will be known. So God transforms us, and God transforms people through our mess. But lastly, all the Bible is leading us to think about Jesus. At the Cause Kids Group, we often ask, at the end of a story, we say, well, what has this story got to do about Jesus? How does this teach us about Jesus? So how does this story teach us about Jesus? Well, have a think about it. Kids, you're normally good at doing this in the Cause. See if you could do it this time. Adults, how does this story teach us about Jesus? Take a moment. How does this story make us go, oh, Jesus is better than Jonah? How is Jesus better than Jonah? Right, kids, any ideas? How is Jesus better than Jonah? How is he a bit like Jonah? And if not, adults, give me some ideas. How, Joanne, was your hand up? Or are you stretching? He's stretching. You're stretching. Okay. Good stretch. Come on, how is Jesus better than Jonah? Anyone got any ideas? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Jesus did God's will. So Jesus, well, in fact, I'll come back to Rebecca. Go on, what were you going to say? You were going to say the same thing. So when God is calling Jonah, what does Jonah do? He says, nah, no way. Don't want to rescue them. And we find out later in the book why. But when Jesus, God the Father, says to God the Son, go and rescue these people. Us lot. And Jesus knows how terrible we are. He knows our heart. He knows we run away from wanting other people to be saved. He knows what we're like. And Jesus goes, yes. I will go and save those people. I am happy to go and save those people. And in fact, Jesus knew you before you were born and said, I will go and rescue them. You lot in this room. And Jonah, what does Jonah do? He jumps off into the water, probably in self-pity. He'll die. ugh, because he's annoyed, he doesn't want to do what God does to save those sailors. Jesus in Matthew says he is the greater Jonah. Just as Jonah went into the belly of the whale for 3 days, Jesus, before he dies, says, I will go into the earth for 3 days. Jesus is not only willing to come to save us, Jesus is willing to come to die to save us. And I want to say that transforms us. You see, if we know that Jesus, and that's partly why we meet up all the time, because we go, Jesus died to save you. Jesus died to save me. And do you see how that transforms us? We go, if Jesus came to die to save me, I want to tell other people that good news. I want to live a life that people might see how I'm living and go, tell me about your Jesus. I want to pray that people might go, tell me about your Jesus. I want to be bold enough where I can go, I'm not ashamed of the gospel. I want to share this wonderful good news. In whatever way that looks, it's going to be different for all of us how that looks. But what I can tell you is the more we know that Jesus died to save us, the more we'll go, I want other people to know that too. Let me pray, and then we're going to respond.